So how does one become a nice judge? Because when we think of judges, that's not where we go.
Oh, it's very easy. First, you have great parents who treat you, like human beings instead of a apostle, and you follow their footsteps, and whatever lessons they taught you as a child, you then incorporate into your life in treating other people that way. Some people think, for example, if you come from a position of power, like a judge, that you have to use that power, in adverse ways. I never thought that. I thought it was a tool for good. I thought it was a tool for understanding people, for helping them if I could, to let them know that I understood their problems. And that was basically it.
So, Judge, you were born then, what, in 1937?
1936.
1936. Okay, so you've seen a lot. You've been around the block. You did not come
Yeah.
from a family of privilege at all. Can I just ask you, broad view, how do you see the dramatic changes in the world over your 88 years, from your childhood to now? Describe like the massive change you've seen.
The thing that impresses me the most is the lack of understanding and civility among people. I was brought up in a working class family. And, my dad was a milkman. I delivered newspapers. I helped him on the truck. And it always was the lessons from my dad were, treat people honorably and with respect and compassion and understanding. Now, he didn't tell me in those words. I just had the opportunity to watch him, how he treated people. And that's how I ended up treating people the way I do.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a lesson from my parents and the way I was brought up.
Do you feel like, what differences do you see in the country, right? Because it seems like if you were born in 36, then you were graduating high school, around 1954? And we were less populated. We were less overwhelmed, I think, with the number of bodies when we tried to travel and we got on roads. But we were finding each other back then. We had the bowling leagues and we had, parades, and we had like a shared patriotism. I feel like that's all changed so much.
Big changes that I've seen in my lifetime are the breakdown of the family unit. The basic unit of society is the family unit. And that's what youngsters see. That's the first impression that they have when they're born and they're brought into this world. And I think, unfortunately, that the family unit, the substance of the family unit, has broken down over the years. And I think that's a shame.
How important is that, like family dinners and time together and, an intact mother and father unit in the home?
You cannot import the importance of that enough. Just the family unit being together, the togetherness, the love of each other, being together for all major events and enjoying them together is just something that I think is lacking in the world today. And
how many cousins did you have growing up? It was a big number, right? Cousins?
Oh, my cousins numbered over 30. Over 30.
Wow.
My father was one of 10. My mother was one of 8.
Wow.
So,
all Providence, the whole life?
All in New England, right? Rhode Island.
Lucky you. So your dad did the right thing because he wound up showing you what it was like to be a milkman and what it was like to make a living, doing honest work, though not work that will make you rich. So how did you use that when you got on the bench as a judge?
It's interesting you asked that question because the very first day on the bench, a woman came in, and the fact of the matter was she was arrogant, and she had 3 kids. And that was my first day on the bench. And I asked my dad if he would come to the court to view my proceedings, and he came. So here I am. I'm a judge now. I got the robe. I'm in the court. My father's watching me. So I'm going to show my dad what a great judge I can be. So this woman came in, and she had 4 parking tickets, and she was a little rude. And she said, I just don't have the money. I have 3 kids, and I don't have the money, and I'm not paying them. It's my first day on the bench. I'm here. My dad's in the courtroom. I'm going to now make my mark. I'm not going to take any kind of guff from anybody. And so I get into a conversation with her. And finally, because she is so arrogant and rude, I fine her the full amount of money without cutting her any kind of a break. Now the court is over. And I can't wait to talk to my dad, because my dad now sees me with the role. I'm a judge, and I didn't take any guff, And I said, Dad, how did I do? And he looked at me. He said, how did you do? He said, that woman, how could you do that? I said, what woman are you talking about? He said, the woman that you find her the full charge. I said, Dad, she was arrogant. She was rude. He said, you don't understand. He said, she was scared, and she didn't have any money. And now she may not be able to feed her children tonight. She may not be able to pay the rent. She may not be able to pay any other bills. He says, you can't treat people like that. That's not the way you were brought up. My very first day on the bench, my very first client, my dad straightened me out. And
there was a
a
reason.
whole different story. Right,
there was a reason you were given that case in front of your dad while he was there, to remind you, right, of that other piece of having power, right? Knowing when to exercise it and knowing when benevolence is a better way. This is a picture of you on the bench, 38 years on the bench in this role.
Yes,
what's the number one case
years.
you remember? Like, is that the one that you remember because it was your first, or was there another one that taught you something?
I remember several, but the one that I remember the most is a gentleman who came in. He was 96 when he came in. He was driving his son to get treatment. And we actually bonded with him and invited him to our house. And, it was a very wonderful experience.
Wow. I mean, this is like, you don't hear about stories like this with a judge inviting a litigant in front of them, a constituent, to come over for dinner. But you know what? That's Italian too. They always want to feed you. When you're Italian, that's not that unusual. I know you say in the book, a person's worth is defined from learning from mistakes, not from the mistakes themselves. Can you talk about that?
So I'm sorry, I didn't hear the beginning of that.
In the book, you write about how a person's worth is defined from learning from their mistakes, not the mistakes themselves, but from taking some time to learn from the mistakes. I mean, can be easier said than done, but what do you mean by that?
Well, we don't learn by our victories. Sometimes we get consumed by them, and we feel that we have this power that we really don't have. But understanding people's everyday problems. I had the privilege of working with my dad on a milk truck, when I was 12 years old, and delivering newspapers in a working class neighborhood where people really didn't have any money. And many of them couldn't even afford to pay for the newspaper. And the question that I had to resolve was, what did I do? Did I stop delivery or not? And the lessons that I took were the lessons that I learned from my dad, right? And it wasn't that he sat me down and said, listen, you treat somebody this way or that way. It's the way he treated people every single day. And it was those experiences that formed my thought process.
Did it ever make it hard for you to issue a harsh punishment against someone in front of you because you are so nice and you view people through such a sympathetic lens?
It did. As a matter of fact, sometimes that they challenged you. I actually had a woman come in, and she challenged me. I can't afford to pay it, and I'm not paying it. So I said, what do I do in this situation? So anyway, we worked it out.
Did she come over to your house?
No, she never got an invitation.
Not everybody does. Listen, I think
No,
it's great that you wrote this book, Judge. I mean, I love when people who have a lot of wisdom to give actually put it in writing. And I know that you've been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, so it must have been important to you to write down these stories and these thoughts. I hope you have big plans for the coming months involving your family and everyone who loves you.
I thought that I would share my early life's experiences that would help other people who are in the same situation. My dad was one of 10. My mother was one of 8. With all my cousins and aunts and uncles, we were a very close-knit family. And when I was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, it was a very traumatic time in my life. Not only in my life, but in the life of my family on both sides. And I tried to conduct myself in a way that would reflect great credit upon my family and upon how we treat things.
I'm sure they love you very much. Since President Trump was sworn in, his administration has made enormous progress at a breakneck pace. But don't forget, while they are moving mountains for the good of the nation, you've got your personal savings to worry about. And one of the best ways to look after your savings is through diversification, particularly with gold, like from Birch Gold Group. In the past 12 months, the value of gold has increased by 40%. And Birch was an advertiser on this show 12 months ago. If you had purchased then, you'd be 40% richer today. Now's the time. Central banks continue to bolster demand for gold by burying in record quantities. Global instability and tension is high, and Birch Gold makes owning physical gold so easy. Easily convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold, or buy some to store in your home safe. Just text MK to the number 989898, and Birch Gold is going to send you a free info kit on gold. Look into it, see if it's right for you. There's no obligation, just useful information to help you make a decision. With an A+ rating, with a Better Business Bureau, and tens of thousands of happy customers, take control of your savings today. Text MK to 989898. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.